Welcome to Besties and Bubbles.
Cheers, Kimberly.
Cheers, friend.
I love podcast days.
I
really do. I look forward to it.
So fun. We get to be together.
We really enjoy doing this. So thank you for listening.
Yes.
I think we really do enjoy doing it.
We do enjoy doing it. And you know what? We have a little following, so to speak. And it's been fun hearing from you all. So we definitely appreciate it.
True. And we're talking about real life topics. And today is no exception. Today we're going to talk about our relationship in raising adult kids. So maybe how things have changed. And, I have 4 all adult kids.
Yes. And I have 2 adult children and 1 soon-to-be adult
Very
child.
soon.
Very
He'll
close.
be a freshman in college in the fall.
Yes, he will.
Yes, he will. And he's already graduated, so
yay!
We're rounding up.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
We are.
So some of the questions, we just kind of gathered some things that we'll ask each other and kind of get each other's opinions. Sometimes it might be the same, sometimes it might be different. So
yeah, and I think, one of the things that I always remember hearing, right? Bigger, older kids, kind of bigger problems, right? And
that's true.
I don't necessarily want to lead on a negative note, but there is like the saying of when your kids are little and you tuck them all into bed at night, you know where they are.
You know where they are.
And then you can sleep.
True.
When they don't live in your house or when they're able to be out and about on their own, it's a totally different story, and it's a different way of parenting.
Yeah.
As well. So
yeah, for sure.
I mean, so I guess one of the things, and we just kind of talked about it, but that is different, and I don't know about you, but when you have your children and they're little and you basically kind of do everything for them.
Right.
Does that change, or how does that change when they don't necessarily, quote unquote, need you physically so much, right? They don't need you to hold their hand across the street or to feed them, a meal, or, give them a bath at night or what have you.
Right. So it's funny because you and I actually talked about this off script. We weren't even talking about podcasts, and we were talking about this, and for me, thankfully, my children still need me, but they don't need me to make them a meal. They don't need me to, things like that. But they still need me, whether it's running over to babysit. Tomorrow I get to babysit Baker tomorrow. Yay. So Jessie can go to school with Sophina and be a volunteer mom, or it's, running an errand, or, there's just so many ways that my kids still need me. I think that I'm still the parent that they call if they need prayer, if they need something is, medically going on. I think I'm still their number one phone call, things like that. So it's a different kind of need. What about you?
I would agree. It's definitely not so much the physical need
as it's not that day to day.
The emotional, right? The psychological. It's more of, I've got a situation, or Mom, I need you, in the situation of watching children, grandchildren, right? Or it's just I've got a situation I'm in. How should I handle it? And in some ways, sometimes they just need to talk to you, and you're not exactly sure what the need is, but they just need you, and of course you're there for them. And I think in some ways it can be a little more challenging from that aspect, as opposed to like, okay, here's your toy, or here's your food, or you know what I mean? It's a little more transactional when they're little. And I'm sure all the mamas that are out there that are, in the thick of it in raising their kids right now might debate us on that.
Well, they might think that it gets easier, right? But
it does in some ways, and it doesn't in others.
What's so nice is that we actually have kids that still need us and still want our opinion and time and all that kind of stuff. And maybe not everybody's in that situation. So actually we're blessed that our kids still need us. And so it is a blessing. What about setting healthy boundaries? so you're not pushing them away, you're not being overbearing. We used to control everything in their life. So
Right.
like, do you feel like you've struggled with that, or do you think you've had a good, that you found a good path to like set those boundaries with them?
I think so. I mean, I think that once your kids move away, like
Yeah.
out of the house, granted, it might be the house that they grew up in, and so there's familiarity and comfort, but at the same time, it is your house. So it's setting, I don't know, boundaries from that. Like,
Do you think that Jackson should call before he shows up at your house?
I don't think he necessarily has to call, um, but maybe like a heads up before you,
Really?
but just, yeah, just give me a heads up.
Yeah, I don't think my kids do that. They just show up at will.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he
Yeah.
does that. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, yeah, it'd be nice.
It'd be nice, huh?
I mean, I do that with my parents, but again, I'm a lot older, so
Okay.
they're still in that young adult
Okay.
stage. What about you?
Boundaries, I think, well, I've been doing the adult kid longer than you.
Yes.
So I think it comes, the boundaries are more like I know when I should stop giving advice.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I want all my kids to be who they are, but I'm kind of you know, my personality is kind of direct. And sometimes I just need to listen and respect them as an adult that can make their own decisions. Now, if they're asking my opinion, that's different. But if they're not asking my opinion, I should just keep it to myself. And that keeps the peace. And I think that's the right thing to do because they have to learn no matter what it is. They have to learn on their own.
I do agree. I do agree with that, and I think it's the way maybe you phrase things too.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
It's not saying I would do this. It's more of if I were in your position,
Or
or
allowing them to see the other side of
right.
something.
If I was faced with something like this is
Hmm.
how I
I
would
would
handle
handle
it.
it.
Now, you do you,
Right.
but this is how I would handle it.
Right.
To give an
Okay.
example,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Fair.
So, I don't know.
That's
I
kind of like
mean,
the next thing is that you were, yeah, it's kind of
yeah.
like that.
Well,
Like,
it's right. It's of not, you don't want to be overbearing
yeah.
with it necessarily, but you want to provide guidance
So the
for
difference
them.
is offering advice and basically what? Like telling them what to do, right? You don't want to.
No, you don't want to. Yeah,
Right.
you don't want
Right.
to tell them. I would say it's offering some guidance,
Right.
but
Right.
putting like yourself out there
Okay.
in the
Okay.
example. So,
How do you handle it when your kids maybe don't communicate as much as you want them to communicate? How do you handle that?
so I remember my boys got one of the moms had gotten a pillowcase right before they
Yep.
went away, and the pillowcase said
Call
call
your
your mom,
mom.
so that when they went to bed every night
Do you know who made those?
they fell asleep. I think it was our friend Denise.
Denise
Yes,
Glennon did.
Denise.
Yes, she
Yes.
did.
And I think it's brilliant.
It is. It's great.
And my youngest son will be getting one of those also when he goes away
When
to
he goes to
college.
school,
So
yeah.
that's the last thing he sees before he goes to sleep is to call your mom. And I still think it's very important to call your
Right.
mom. I call my mom. I actually make sure my husband calls his mom. It's
Okay.
just you just should call your mom.
But what happens when they don't
Yeah.
as much?
So we have technology now that allows us to text.
Yeah.
So texting, I feel, is helpful, right? If they don't call, and it's maybe little text, or it's the emoji where you stick your hand up and it's like
Like you
hi,
have a question?
like or it's hi,
I
remember me?
thought
You
it was I
know,
have a question.
well,
It
that
could
too.
be.
Maybe I used the wrong emoji where I'm
Do you
just
know that
like,
some people
hey.
said that the poo emoji is actually just chocolate ice cream?
No,
I'm serious.
really?
Yeah. Who knows what it is? They don't have names.
I think it.
Do you think it's poo?
I think when you
It
type
has
in,
eyeballs though.
I think when you type in poop,
Oh, it comes
that's
up.
the emoji that comes up.
I wonder if you type in chocolate ice cream. Maybe.
Oh, I don't know,
You know what?
friends.
We should check on that.
Yeah.
But that's another emoji thing. Okay. So you would reach out to them, obviously.
I
You're missing them, you'd reach out. Yeah.
Yes,
I
because
d-
I think you should. You're the adult,
yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? Like we're the
And they don't know. They're
adults.
living their best life. It was particularly hard when Brett went to college. And I knew he was having a great time, and everything, but I would still, it's not like we set up regular calls. And I know some parents did that, like,
Yeah,
Sunday night calls or stuff like that. And that could be a great solution. Um, but he would call me periodically when he was like walking from to practice or, something like that, give me the down low about what's going on. We also we've always had a group chat, a family
yeah.
group chat.
Text chat.
Yes. So
Yeah,
if someone's not answering for a while, you check in
right,
with that
right.
kid, And
And I think
now it's
that's
with
great. I
my
think that's great. You actually inspired me to do that.
the fam chat.
Yeah, the fam
And we
chat,
have it with uh, you know,
the extended.
the extended my
Yep.
two kids that are married, right? They're
Yes.
in it too. So
Yes.
yeah, we post
Same.
pictures of the kids, and so everybody kind of knows what's going on. That's or something funny that happened or whatever. Something you wouldn't put on social media, but you would chat to everybody else. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that the way I handle it is if my kids aren't communicating enough, I reach out to them, or I set something up. I'm also still the party planner, in the house. I'm like, hey, let's do a day where all the grandkids come over and swim.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do agree with that. I think that just trying to keep your adult kids connected with you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, that can be challenging if they don't live close in proximity to
Right,
you,
right.
right? So that's something else. But, again, with technology, we have FaceTime and we have, things that we
You
can
just got to make the
do.
effort, right?
You do. But
So
I feel as the adults, it probably should be
falls on us.
on us. And I think that's more with, I mean, I'm just going to make a blanketed statement. I think that happens more with boys than girls that you need to follow up with. That's all I'm saying.
Because
I
you
only
only
have
have
boys,
boys.
but
Yeah.
that's why I said it's a
So
blanketed statement.
have you ever heard my family refer to FFF? You know what that is?
Um, I I know what F. Oh no, it's FFS. Is that what you just said?
No, FFF.
Oh nope, FFS.
So I don't know where we got this, but a long time ago when the kids were young, I would let them know that if I called an FFF, they couldn't get out of it. They had to show up for it.
Oh.
It was forced family fun.
Oh.
Forced family fun, FFF. It was just code. If I sent FFF and this is what we're doing, everybody knew we have to be there. It was like a non negotiable. So I don't call FFFs anymore, but I do still throw out those opportunities for them to come and, hang out and stuff like that. So anyway, yeah. Maybe if you have teenagers, you just start incorporating that FFF.
I do like that. I would say we do family Sunday dinners.
Yeah, that's great too.
And I, again, text the kids and it's like family Sunday. And again, it's on the group chat,
Yep.
whatever.
Yeah.
And mostly they're in. And that's another great way to just, again, if your kids are local, they can be together and,
Absolutely.
Play games and
Yeah.
have fun. And maybe they can help you cook or whatever.
That's so funny.
Okay. All right. How else do we stay connected? Well, or just kind of help guide our adult children. What about finances? Like when kids move out and they're on their own
Yeah.
and um it's a lot. Like it like hopefully they understand that they've got rent and utilities and car payments and things like that and how do we help manage that? Like what's your
Well,
perspective
I've
on
been
that?
all over the place. All of my kids have, well, Emily hasn't left, but all my kids have left and come back at some point
Oh,
after they were 18.
okay.
Nicole spent time here. She moved out of her dorm housing and lived here for a while, but she was a full time student. So we didn't charge her rent for that. And it wasn't even a full year. Um, Dean did get charged rent when he was here.
Okay.
And Brett was again here only temporarily for a little bit. And so we didn't charge him rent, but Emily's paying rent. So I think if they're still in your house, I think it's important to force them to act like they're going to be adults out of the house,
Yeah. And that's
So
almost tying back
paying
to the
rent,
boundaries, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, right. And it's not that I need the money financially necessarily, but it's really for a lesson for them. And then there's, if you live in this house too, there's chores, There's still, like, Emily still has things that she has to do
Yeah.
because she's the only one left,
You need to contribute.
It's just contributing to the health of the house is
Right.
what I call it.
You
Yeah.
can pitch in
There's
because
not like allowance,
uh,
not
no,
chores that equal
no,
pay, but
because I'm sure
you, the lights are on.
I'm sure that the rent that they're paying
Yes,
is nowhere near what they would pay if they
for
were
sure.
living on their own.
For
I'm
sure.
sure whatever is in the refrigerator is fair game for them. And if they want
Absolutely.
something else, then they need to go purchase that. But it's
Yes.
probably not a bad setup.
Yes. I think that that's a good thing. And I remember somebody telling us that you could, like, if your kid was extended staying for a while, you could take the rent and then save it and then give it back to them when they, buy a house or something like that. No one, none of my kids are getting anything back. I
Yeah.
didn't charge them that much,
Right. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
And I've helped pay for both of my kids' weddings. So
Yes. Yes. What in regards to finances? What has there ever been a situation where, and maybe some of our friends have experienced this, where your child has gotten into credit card debt, like a lot of credit card debt, and maybe things become a little overwhelming for them? And I think this is a real
yeah,
situation, right?
man, they're so out to get our kids, these credit card
I
companies.
I know, but well,
I throw
let's
stuff out
it's not
every
even
day that comes
it's
in.
Apple Pay. Everything's
Yeah.
on their
Yeah.
phone,
Yeah.
right? And it's just so easy to be like beep, beep. I
Yes.
mean, so and what if it gets to a point where it's like they can't like
So what would you do? I don't have that situation. So I'm asking you, how would you handle that if you felt like your kid was, this is someone you love and you've nurtured them and you've tried to teach them your values and everything, and you feel like they're not handling something right, like that,
yeah,
finances.
I think you need to have a sit down conversation with them
Yeah.
in regards, and I am a big like detailed spreadsheet person when it comes to finances.
And I am not.
So I know
You
where
balance your checkbook every month?
I well don't balance my checkbook, but I have a
Uh-huh.
spreadsheet that
That
is I have a budget for
everything that
everything.
comes out of your bank account is
Pretty
in the
much
spreadsheet.
everything is in the spreadsheet. Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's I mean you could ask me anything, but
That's good, Kimmy.
um
I'm very proud of you.
so it's and this could be actually something we could talk about another time, but I think it's very important to set your child down and to understand that they have a budget, they need to live within a budget,
Yeah.
and now we have a hole that we need to dig out, and we can do it, right?
Yeah.
You can do it. You just need to get the plan and you need to figure it out, and maybe they need to get a side job, maybe they don't need to go out as much, maybe they need to hand you their credit cards and they're on, a little bit of an allowance. It's meant to sting,
Yeah.
right?
But yeah, they have to obviously be willing to take that parental help because they don't have to anymore, right? They don't live with us. These are adult
Yeah.
children, right? But yes, I would say any kind of situation like that where you thought your child was not doing the best they could, you would try and step in. And in
Yeah.
finances, you could help guide them. And yes, you can, whatever the drastic situations could be for something like that.
So I guess to answer it properly, I wouldn't get them out of debt. It would not pay to get them out of credit card debt.
No.
Because they'll
They
never
don't
learn.
learn anything.
They'll never learn.
But what if they borrow money?
Well,
it's back to the whole borrowing money sticky situation things.
This is
like,
very true.
oh, really?
And I think that needs to be a contract,
Yes.
and you need to have
and
that
payment
all
schedule
documented and paid.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Even with your kids, because it's teaching them the right thing.
100%.
It's teaching them the right thing.
Right. Because if you continually bail them out, they're never going to learn.
Right. Agreed.
So.
Agreed. What is the best part of having adult kids?
Oh, the best part. Okay. I'm not even going to take a sip.
I love that she does that.
The best part is, I think, growing into that friendship with them.
Okay.
right? And we've had these conversations
Yes.
before when we're raising our kids. We are not friends.
You
We're
can't
not
be you can't be their
we're
friend,
not friends when
especially when they're teenagers. You can't be their
yes. No,
friend
we are not friends and you should be ticked off and mad at me and curse me in any way shape or
because I'm
form.
your parent.
I am your parent
Right.
and if you feel that way then I'm doing my job,
Mhm.
right? But the adult part of you, when you leave the house
Mhm.
and you come over and we can have fun and maybe
Yeah.
share a cocktail and have
Yeah.
some conversations, that I think is the fun part. And then I would say, in addition to that, is when they become parents and
Yes.
watching them
For sure, for sure.
become
And I
parents.
would say that too, in addition, like I have loved to see my children develop into those skills, that
Yeah.
maybe like my son is a plumber. For him to come over and he just put in something in my house and everything was done just right. And I'm just so proud of him.
Yeah.
It's like
That's
he's
awesome.
he's a grown up.
Mm-hmm.
He's a grown up and he did this not just to, do something nice for me, his mother, but that's what he does to other people and that's how he treats people. He treats them very well and he has a successful business on his own. So there's a lot of pride with that. That's another bonus in your kid, like, you know growing into their adulthood is like, them developing a skill and us
Yes.
having another level of pride, right? I didn't help Dean become a plumber. He did that all on his
Right.
own.
Yeah,
I didn't help Brett
absolutely.
get his job.
Mm.
Now he still called me about his interview and this and that and all kind of stuff, but he got that job
Yeah,
and he got
absolutely.
that raise and stuff. So there's a lot of pride in that. So, and again, you're just like supportive, right?
Yeah.
And happy for him.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I like that too. And same with Jackson, same with Ben. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm
Yeah,
extremely
uber
proud of
proud of them.
them.
Yes.
Um, so as we're saying how proud we are of these
Yes.
children, which we are, is there anything that you would have done differently? Or perhaps, yeah, been like,
Yeah.
maybe I didn't do such a good job of that. I would have done it second time around differently.
Well, a couple things that stick out is because we were thinking about this is like I don't think I prepared in our family. I My mom didn't cook a lot. I mean, okay, she cooked. We didn't eat out a lot, but it wasn't like it was something that maybe she enjoyed. It's not anything that I remember doing with
Like,
her and
yeah,
enjoying. You know what I
okay.
mean?
Like a
So,
specialty thing, or if mom was
right,
making something like
right.
everyone was excited for
Right.
it.
And I have like a handful of things that my kids will say, like, oh, yeah, I remember growing up, my mom always made this
Yeah,
dish. Like,
right.
we actually have a family cookbook,
Yeah,
that we were just talking about the other
I
day,
love
too.
it.
Stuff like that. But when Brett went away to school, he was eating in the cafeteria. But then the second year when he moved off campus, he FaceTimed me to cook chicken. And I was like, huh? I was I felt like I should have done a better job preparing him to cook on his own. I had cooked for him. And again, just like my mom, it wasn't like I was including my kids in it because it was just something I did.
You just do it.
And in high school and with the last two, honestly, we ate in shifts because
Yeah,
when Brett was in
you've got
athletics and Emily was
sports.
working and
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? It's not like we sat at the dinner table like when they were little.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time they were ready to learn how to cook more than a sandwich or grilled cheese or heat
Yep,
up something,
I agree.
they weren't home during the cooking part. So I would do that as a preparation. I would go back and do that better, prepare my kids a little bit better to be on their own, like with food and all my kids. I think they eat well. I think they're, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know that they could say I taught them anything really, like cooking wise. I think everyone just kind of
Well,
figured it out. And now our kids have Google and ChatGPT, so they could just figure it all out themselves. But
they can.
if I would go back and do it, I would better prepare them for that. Yeah.
All right.
What about you? Something you
Um,
do differently, like you could have prepared them better for something? Your adult kids?
I yeah, I think there's a lot of things I could have prepared them for differently, only because like you see the way things are. Um, I think that the finances are probably the
Yeah.
biggest thing
Yeah.
from my perspective,
Right?
because there's been some tough times
Mm-hmm.
for my children with that, but they have made it through, and so
And they've come to you for help.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah. And if you continue to be the parent that, in my experience, if you continue to be the parent that asks the questions, maybe without necessarily advice, but just ask those open-ended questions and all that kind of stuff. When they do need you, they do come back and say, "Hey, can you help me with this?"
Yes. I think initially they want to obviously solve something
Do
on
it on their
their
own, try it on
own,
their
and they
own.
should. They
Right,
absolutely should. But I think
right.
in the end, when we have our adult children,
Yeah,
um, you do still want them to come to you.
yeah, right,
Whether they take your advice or not,
right.
they might take bits and pieces, right? But the point is that they're coming back to you. The communication's there,
Yeah,
and that's. I mean, to me, I like that's what it's all about is family, and so I want to be a part of my kids' lives for as long as I can.
for sure. Is there something, kind of just wrapping up, is there something that you wouldn't want to talk to your kids about? Are there still things that, like, I know you're talking about like they're more like adults and stuff, but are there still things
Mm.
that you hold back that you just think that you shouldn't talk to them about? Or maybe they say like, yeah, okay, that's too much, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have. I know our parents definitely
Hmm.
have, and I think Gen Xers maybe to a certain extent don't necessarily share a lot about finances per se,
Okay.
right? Like I never. I don't know about you. I never knew how much money my parents
Never.
made. We
Couldn't
just
tell you right now to this day.
yeah, same. But so
But do your kids know how much you make?
I I don't think no, I mean it's we don't they might have an idea, but it's not like we're sitting down to say, "Oh, well,
I
this
think my
is
kids know how much I make,
how
or how much,
much."
because real estate's very, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
only because I think that we've talked about that. I know how much my kids make.
Yeah. Uh
But that's different than,
mm,
and that's a really good
yes.
podcast we should do sometime.
Yeah,
Do you know
like
that?
different
The differences?
generations
Yeah,
and
that,
stuff like that.
yes, and the way we were raised and the ways we raised our children.
Yeah. Mm,
Hmm,
more to follow on that.
maybe that's on the, on the to-do list.
We'll check that
Um
off.
some things I think that I don't like. I know my kids are, it's nice to be able to have a cocktail with them. Like, all my kids are over 21. It's nice to vacation. It's nice to have to, maybe when they were younger, I was, watching what I said and things like that. The one thing is that they just don't, the whole dating thing. Like, I'm not dating their dad, right? So
This
I
is true.
think that that's one thing my kids would be like, okay, mom,
Yes.
do that on your own.
Right.
That's like, we want you to be happy. They're all very clear. They want you to be happy. But that's something like that I would tell my girlfriend, my bestie, but I surely wouldn't want, my kids don't want to be
Right.
involved
And
in that
that's
kind
why
of
I
thing.
get your phone when you,
Yes.
you know,
When I
aren't here
pass,
anymore. So
Kim has the code to my phone.
I do.
Very true.
I do.
Very true.
So
Well, it's interesting. It's a fun time of my life, I think. I'm not regretful that I put all those hours in nurturing those relationships with my kids when they were little. I stayed home for a long time with them. I'm not regretful at all because I have really close relationships with my kids, and I feel very blessed about that. So,
and I think that's amazing. And I would agree. I have always viewed my role and my husband's role as parents is to raise contributing citizens to society.
absolutely.
And I want them to fly and
Yeah.
grow and
Yeah.
leave. I don't want them all living with me. I mean, I really
No.
don't. I love them. I just don't want them all
Yes.
living with me. So
Right.
I would say that, you know, we're almost there, and O will be there and Emily will be there, and you know,
One
it'll
day.
all be good. It will. It'll all be good.
I have no
They're all
complaints.
yeah.
I like Emily here,
I
actually.
know you
So,
do. But
yeah.
yeah.
Anyway,
So
okay. Well, please tell us what you think. Hopefully you picked up some tips. We might be a little bit ahead of some of our friends.
yeah. Or
That are
maybe
watching.
we are behind on some of our friends too. Who knows? Like
We're
we'd love
open to
to
advice.
hear
We're open to advice.
or situations that you've encountered with, your adult children that you've had to overcome that we don't even know we might have to overcome.
It's very true.
So
Very true. All right. Well,
anyway,
cheers to you, bestie.
cheers,
It's
babes.
nice to be doing this life thing with you.
Agreed.
Cheers to you. Thanks for joining us today.
Ciao.
Ciao.